Hey,
Hey, good evening, good evening, good evening. So, today we are back with another one, Life After Divorce, turning your pain into your power, which is inspired by my anthology book, Life After Divorce, Turning Your Pain into Power. I am so excited. I got my good sister over here, and I'm going to do an introduction briefly, but we're going to give it a few moments. I want to say seconds, minutes, between seconds and minutes. And what I really want us to do, go ahead, share this post so others can see. Give us some time to get people on board, and then we'll get started with our introduction. All right. So let me go ahead and share this on my personal page. Okay. Then we'll get started. So, how was your day today, Miss Deanna?
my day was work. It was normal work day. So I'm looking forward to having the day off tomorrow. My birthday is Saturday. So I took tomorrow off to give myself some self-care. So
Yes,
yeah.
I love it. Well, happy early birthday to you.
Thank you, sis.
I'm pretty sure that this has been a true transforming year for you. Like you are a newlywed. So we'll talk
Hmm.
about that a little later on. But I ain't gonna ask you how old you are, but I'm pretty sure that God has been good to you. So
I don't mind sharing my age because I know I look good. So
I know that's
I will be 42 years. I've had 42 trips on Saturday. So yeah, I don't mind.
yeah.
I'm
40
I'm excited.
yes, that is truly a blessing. So what I want to do, I'm going to go ahead and introduce you to the audience and we'll go from there, okay?
Okay.
All right. And so for some, just to make sure we're pronouncing your name right, Deanna, I know you hear all of it. What is your correct
The
pronunciation?
correct pronunciation of my name is Deanna.
Okay. Make sure.
I answer to Deanna only because my grandmother called me Deanna,
Okay.
and she, who gonna correct their grandma? So I just let people call me Deanna. But most people have been saying lately, like, correct people. It just be too much sometimes, and I just be like, whatever. So, but it's Deanna. Yeah.
Right. The thing is, my very first book, Because He Loves Me, my character's name is Deanna.
Oh wow.
I always think
Wow.
I should have put Deanna, so that's where I got that name from, like Deanna. And I was like, you know what? Since I'm not a real Deanna, I'm gonna make my character Deanna. So now I got a real Deanna in front of
Okay.
me. All right. So I want to go ahead and introduce you to our audience. Okay. So we have Miss Deanna Atkinson, and we know that's your maiden name. You now go by Deana Millin, who's the owner of Beauty and a Broom LLC, established in 2016. She offers residential and commercial services. She is a member of Eta Lambda Society. Okay,
Okay.
a
Okay.
business owner
Yeah.
of 7 years. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. 7 years, that's amazing because being a business owner of let me see, 4 years for myself, well, rebranding 4 years ago and then starting back in 2014 is difficult. So we'll talk about your challenges, your blessings, everything that comes along with being a business owner a little later. But as a business owner, she developed initiatives and collaborates to positively impact reentry populations. Deanna is the founder of an up and coming initiative, A Second Chance Solutions, dedicated to providing employment, resources, and professional development training for returning citizens. Deanna is also an author with her soon to be released first book highlighting her life story and how she overcame struggles by challenging her mindset. Now, I ain't gonna tell the deets on that book, but we'll talk about that book a little later on too, because that's all a part of your turning pain into power. So let's get into this, Miss Deanna. So, not too long ago, I released the call saying, for those of you who have experienced divorce, you're ready to tell your story, life after divorce, turning pain into power, and you initially was like, yeah, I'm interested in telling my story. Tell us, how do we get there? Like, I know you told me that you were married 2 times before.
Hmm.
How old were you when you first got married?
My first marriage, I was 19.
19. Oh, wow, you was pretty young.
Yes.
Okay. So 19 years old, getting married. Was this like someone you thought was a true love? Tell us about his personality. What made you get married at 19?
Honestly, at 19, I thought I knew what I wanted for the rest of my life,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think any 19-year-old knows what they want for the rest of their life. The reason that I married him was because of course, I did love him, and we had a child together. Um, I was also concerned about being a statistic. Um, when I was in high school, I was very active. I did various activities, and one of my coaches kind of made a comment one day, suggesting that that will be my life. Like, are you gonna have a bunch of kids? And not saying it that way, but in other ways implying that I wasn't going to be successful because of my attitude. And so I married him to not be a statistic. And I wanted this sense of family because I didn't have one. I was raised in a single parent household. So I wanted my daughter to experience what I didn't get to experience. So,
Okay. So
yeah.
basically, you're saying you were a teenage mom. Did you get pregnant in high school?
I got pregnant 2 weeks. I'm sorry, the week before prom.
Oh, okay.
I didn't find out I was pregnant until the week after graduation.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. So did you two go to high school together, or is that someone you met outside of school?
We went to high school together briefly. He was a little older than I am, so he graduated or should have graduated before me.
Okay. Do you feel like if you would have not gotten married, I mean pregnant, you would have still married him, or you would have went a different direction?
I would have probably went a different direction. I wanted a family eventually, but my daughter wasn't planned.
Hmm.
So it was kind of like, okay, now I have to reevaluate my life and what it wasn't about me anymore. It became about her and what was best for her.
Right.
Um, so at the age of 19, very early, I stopped looking at what was best for me for briefly. It was more so what was most important for my daughter because I wanted her to have everything that I did.
Okay. Tell me about your relationship with your mother. Like I hear you saying you got pregnant 19, you have a daughter, you want to give her everything that you did not have. Growing up,
Mhm.
what was life like with your mom? Did you grow up in a two-parent home? What
Well,
would you
no, in my younger ages, I didn't grow up in a two-parent household. It was just my mother, myself, and my brother.
Mhm.
And she did an amazing job. No, I'm not taking anything from my mother, but it would, of course, been a lot easier if my father had played the role and took care of his responsibility. He did not do that. He was in his own trauma and dealing with his own issues,
Right.
so that dropped the ball on being a father.
Mm.
So, growing up, I just, what I mean by giving her what I didn't have is that family unit, the two-parent household.
Right.
My daddy is, he's active and he's in my life. So I felt if I married him and we became a family, she would have that and she would grow up to know that her values and her self-worth, because I feel as if that is a father's um first that's the first thing a father is supposed to do is teach his daughter what she's worth. Like,
Right.
tell her she's beautiful, give her self-esteem, her self-confidence. And it took a long time for me to get it because I didn't get it from my father. So
Mm.
I
Mm.
didn't want her to go through that at all.
Got you. Got you.
Yeah.
So you feel like your lack of a relationship with your father really helped to shape and mold you as the mother that you became at the young age of 19.
Yes, and that's probably why I got pregnant at the age of 19, looking for love in all the wrong places from that opposite sex because I didn't have that. My brother was in my life, but that's my brother, and he was a
Right.
big brother. He gonna ride me, as our good sister Leanne says gracefully. But
Mhm.
he rode me, so um, you know, he wasn't. He still didn't fill that void at all. You know,
Right. What void do you feel like you had? Like I know the
I wanted my father. I wanted a relationship with my dad. I wanted him to be in my life. I
Mhm.
wanted him to, father-daughter dances. I remember being little and I was a Girl Scout and we had a father-daughter dance. And I didn't have anybody to go to the dance with. All the other little girls, their daddies was there. They
Right.
they took, so I didn't go to the dance because I didn't have, I could have got an uncle or an older cousin or something, but I didn't want that. I wanted my dad, and I didn't have one. So that was like the very first moment that I actually realized, like, well, wait a minute, is something wrong with me? Because
Mhm.
he don't want to be in my life. So
Right.
yeah.
Right. So you get married, 19
Hmm.
years old, mother straight out the gate, and
Hmm.
you now have a family where most 19-year-olds are starting to find themselves going out partying, going out clubbing, because you can get in the clubs at 18. What was life like for you being a young married mother?
At first, it was exciting. Um, yeah, early on, he went in the military,
Okay.
and we moved out of the state.
Mhm.
So at the time, I felt like I was hot stuff. We were in Texas,
Okay.
and it was a situation that happened where we thought we were getting back pay from the
Mhm.
military, and it won't back pay. It was advance pay. So come August, which was like maybe the following month, the military gets paid on the 1st and the 15th. We didn't get a check on the 1st or the 15th, and then the 1st of the following month. So by then my phone bill is due. So I'm in panic mode because I'm 19 years old in El Paso, Texas, with a brand new baby. Well, she was maybe about one at this point,
Mhm.
but she was still young and no friends, no family. It was that became scary. So
Right.
I had to build, and I created my own family within the community with the other military wives.
Okay.
So I became friends, and I'm still really good friends with this one
Awesome.
person in particular that helped me out a lot because I was in a panic. I'm walking around on the base and I'm crying. I got my daughter in a stroller, and she
Mhm.
like her mother-in-law saw me. It's like, "Come here, baby. What's wrong?" So I go over there and I tell them what's going on, and she come outside of me like, "Oh, we going to the barracks!" Like immediately. So it clicked. I had to create my own family. And
Wow.
we were maybe in Texas for I think about 5, 6 years,
Okay.
and then he got put out of the military, and we had to come back home, and that's when life got hectic because I was the breadwinner. The roles reversed. I was working, trying to save money so we can get our own place. We had a
Mhm.
car that we drove back, and I'm trying to save the car, and it was hard. And,
Right.
and then in the meantime, I got pregnant with an additional baby. I had pregnant with my son right after that in Texas.
Oh,
So
wow.
I come back with a 3-year-old and a 10-month-old.
So you're dealing with a lot of transitions at a very young age, but very fast pace. Like
Hmm.
finishing school, graduation, leaving your family. Like you were 19 years old, leaving your family for what you felt like was the right thing to do because you're
Hmm.
married, you have a husband, you have a child, and what type of support? I hear you say you had to create your own family. What type of support did the military provide for you and your husband and your child at such a young age?
Well, they did. My husband at the time had like separation anxiety.
Okay.
So when he left, he was in basic training. Then he did AIT. So he
Hmm.
was still in AIT. He was still in school, and they went ahead and granted us housing. So
Okay.
they moved us early. So he was still when I got to Texas, he was still in school. He was
Wow.
still in the AIT in the barracks. So when the situation happened, the higher ups were kind of like, "Sorry for you.
Hmm.
I don't know what we can do. There's nothing we really can do for you." So a couple of his friends that he had befriended from basic and then had went to school with him as well, they
Hmm.
kind of pitched in, and the military families they helped. The military itself, they didn't. It was
Right.
kind of like, well, you should have been paying attention to what you was signing and understood what you was asking for, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
But the friends stepped in and did their job. They kind of like took up a little collection and made sure me and my daughter were straight, like we were good, had food and but
Hmm.
life there was hard because when I first got there, we didn't have anything, no furniture. So what the military did, they did help as far as that because they have like a little building. I don't know if they still do, but back then they had like a little building where you could get cots and they let you rent pots and pans. So I started off that way, and then
Mhm.
eventually, saving up money, and I worked a little couple of jobs on the base and babysitting. We bought little stuff for the house, a little bit by a little bit.
Yeah.
So it wasn't really a lot of help from the military though. It was more so the families in the community.
Now,
So
did your
yeah.
family know that you all were struggling in Texas?
Eventually I did call once when I befriended the person that saved
Mhm.
me that day. Um, she allowed me to use her phone because our phones were off. Everything I had no way to contact home or anything. So that was what I started panicking.
Yeah.
So she let me use the phone. I called home. My brother wasn't too far from me because at the time he was in the military as well. So he
Okay.
wasn't that far from me. And once I got in contact with my family, then
Mhm.
I was good, of course.
Okay. Right.
But and that first couple of days was rough. It was really rough, especially at 19 and not knowing what to do or like where to go or who to
Right.
call on. So,
Right.
God sent
I
an
can only
angel
imagine.
though.
I can only imagine. My daughter is 19 right now, and I think at that age, we just think we so grown. Like,
Exactly.
got this. I don't need your help. I don't need your advice. But where we are right now, when we're thinking about a 19-year-old, girl, you still a baby.
Exactly.
You still a
And
baby.
my mama tried to tell me like, oh,
No.
you sure you ready for marriage? This, and I'm
Yep.
gun ho strong. I got this, and I'm gonna marry him, and I'm gonna do what I want. Type.
Right.
So
I get it. I get it. So you're married, you have children, your husband gets kicked out of the military. How did it go downhill, or where did it begin to go downhill for your marriage?
we were young, selfish. A lot of those details are, of course, in my book.
Okay.
But we were young and not ready, so
Mhm.
there became violence.
Mm.
Um, altercations. It started off arguing, and then it became physical.
Okay.
Where I even came home. I flew home when I was pregnant with my son,
Wow.
and of course, we're married, so we're gonna work this out. Things did not get any better. It got a
Mm.
little worse there. When we got back here, of course, it wasn't too much physical stuff going on because all my family here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so so
Yeah.
one no hitting on me then because
Yeah.
you already know what time it was when it came to that. But um, it kind of was just we were just young. I'll say it. We were young and
How long did
not
you
ready for
marry?
marriage. 9 years, 9.5.
Good. That's a good number. That's a good number. And the reason why I say that's a good number is because usually within the first 5 years, divorce rates go, high as far as a person trying to decide if I want to stay, if I want to leave. 5 years is usually the mark where you usually start seeing people walking away from their marriages. So you stayed. Did you stay for the children's sake? What was your reason for staying so long?
I stayed for the children's sake. I stayed because I loved him, and I stayed because I really wanted it to work. I wanted my family to work out, and I stayed because I didn't want to be a statistic. I
Right.
stayed because
Fight for
I
that
really
marriage.
didn't know how to let it go. It shouldn't have lasted 9 years. It was more so us just dragging it out, honestly, because it wasn't all positive. It wasn't all pretty, but it wasn't all bad either. I'll say about 4 out of those 9 years were good. The
Okay.
other ones was like, whoa. And so when we came back home, of course, finances weren't the same.
Mm-hmm.
The struggle was real.
Mm-hmm.
And being young and kind of selfish, we both made some decisions that affected the marriage in a very bad way. Where we should have just, it was grounds biblically and under the marriage contract to let go. It was infidelity, all kind of things.
Yeah.
But I think we did hold on for the sake of the children. Yeah.
Right. Okay. And that makes sense. A lot of people stay for the sake of the children. Like, we love our children. Like you said, you don't want to be a statistic. You want your parents to grow up in a two-parent home because you didn't grow up in a two-parent home. You understood what life was like without a dad. And so, unfortunately, as moms, we sacrifice for our kids.
Mm-hmm.
They may not understand it, and they might even say, "Why didn't you leave? I would have been okay with you leaving." But we're thinking about the other side of it. Like, I know how it feels not to grow up with a dad. That's how I can
Mhm.
only imagine that's how you're feeling because you
Mhm.
didn't have dad. So you wanted to make sure your kids had their father in their lives. So 19 to 28 years old, you are a married woman. What was the final straw? When did you say I'm leaving?
It was me. The first marriage was me. Um, I was being unfaithful. He was at home being like the at home dad, and I would come home from work. Mind you, by this time we have a third child.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm working 9 months pregnant. I got to come home, cook dinner, put the kids in the tub, get prepared for the next day. And I'm 9 months pregnant. So it was like, if I can do this by myself, I'm going to do this by myself at this
Right.
point. Like, and so I had started seeing someone else. And I just said, I don't want to do this anymore. It
Mhm.
was more so I replaced him with someone else. It wasn't even, oh, when did I decide to leave? I decided to leave when I had somebody that when I thought the grass would be greener on the other side.
Yeah.
And it turned out to be brown,
Woo.
super brown,
Say that again. Like,
doodoo brown.
the grass being green on the other side, and we always feel like we can find better.
Hmm.
I can do better than this. And it's
Hmm.
not saying that there is nothing out there that's better for you, but being able to plant seeds in what you already have. You're talking about the grass, right? Instead of me just picking up, moving across the street because their grass is better, their grass is greener, what can I do at home
Hmm.
to fix my grass that's in my front yard?
Hmm.
Because one is probably cheaper instead of
Hmm.
just picking up and leaving. And two, everything requires work.
Hmm.
Nothing in life is easy, but you got to figure out what's worth fighting for. Do you feel like thinking about to then, do you feel like your marriage was worth fighting for at then?
No, back then, because a lot of the trust had been broken on both ends,
Okay.
because of the infidelity, and then because of the abuse,
Hmm.
the physical abuse, the verbal abuse. There was other incidents that he had gotten in with other family members,
Mm.
female family members. Um,
Oh wow. And
so yeah, it was not a
we
pretty
talking about like
situation.
infidelity or like fighting?
Like fighting, like he put his hands on one of my female cousins.
Okay.
Like, and I'm 9 months pregnant, so it ain't like I can do too much. High
Right.
risk pregnant, so I'm like, trying to break them up.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that was a straw. That was a final straw for me, and it was all because she told the truth. Like she told him, she read him his rights, and he couldn't handle it. And yeah, so
So
I think
that's
I should have left then, but I didn't. Once again, I got a baby. I'm pregnant.
right. And we try.
Yeah,
We really
yeah,
do try.
yeah.
So that's marriage number one.
Hmm.
From 1928, you're married, you separate, you divorce. How do you know you're ready to move on to the next relationship?
I wasn't ready, and I didn't know.
So
What
how
I did was I
again?
replaced him.
Okay.
I replaced the first husband with someone else. So
Mm-hmm.
the guy I started cheating on with the first husband with, I
Mm.
ended up marrying him later, of
Okay.
course. So before the before the actual ring was put on my finger, I mean it was red flag after red flag after red flag. But I wanted what I wanted. I was embarrassed, and it was one of those. I didn't want it to be one of those. I told you so.
Right.
I
You're
knew
trying
this
to
was
prove a
gonna
point.
happen.
Mm-hmm.
I had a point to prove exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And not only did I hurt myself, a lot of other additional people got hurt in the process
Right.
of me. And I feel like maybe that might have been a little bit of karma, honestly.
Mhm.
But so I didn't feel like it was time for me to um move on, or I didn't really give myself a chance to heal from that first situation before I put myself in another situation. And I think that also had a lot to do with childhood and my father not being in my life.
Right.
to be able to teach me my worth and my values.
Right.
And
Right. Right. So you talked about those red flags. What type of red flags do you feel like you ignored that if you would have paid attention to, you would not have been caught up in the moment?
phone numbers in his pockets,
Mm.
condoms in his jeans, running into different females in the neighborhood telling me that he been trying to holler at them, um, just cheating after cheating after cheating after cheating after cheating.
You had a repeat offender.
Correct. I had a repeat offender. Um, and at first it was as if like he would deny me. He wouldn't even tell people that I was his girlfriend. It
Mm.
was like he just needed somewhere to stay type thing.
Right.
But I was so infatuated with his looks
Mm. Okay. Oh, so he was
that it was
nice.
like, girl, he was fine. He was fine. I'm gonna give him that.
Crazy stuff for
He,
you guys.
yeah, he was fine. But okay, but um, what what they say, like when the package on the outside is all glittery and gold,
Right.
and
No,
then it's like on the inside is like rotten. Yeah, that was that situation. So
gotcha.
I ended up dating him for a length, like I think 8 years before we got married.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
So you really didn't have a lot of relationship experience.
no.
What I'm hearing, because you went from one relationship that who you was with at the age of 19, you leave him, but you already started another relationship prior to
Hmm.
even divorcing your husband, and then you jump into another one. And so there's no real transition. We talk about healing a lot. What type of healing do you feel like you needed prior to entering the second marriage?
Because I was looking for love in all the wrong places. I was looking for someone to love me versus me loving me.
Right.
That was the downfall.
Mm-hmm.
Looking back, I know that I was trying to fill a void
Mm-hmm.
that could nobody feel but myself and God.
Right.
And so um, that was why I went looking for, and then the financial situation was better. He was
Mm-hmm.
kind of in the streets, and it was throw it in the bag, whatever you wanted. That song came out. It was my theme, like throw it in the bag or whatever I wanted. When we want to go out to eat, you don't feel like cooking, okay. So the glitz and the glams of what he could provide at that time is
Right.
what attracted me to feeling like it was better.
Right.
And oh, I deserve this. I deserve this because yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so you kind of like trade your peace, your
Hmm.
happiness for the glamour life,
Hmm.
for the glam, for the money, for what we think material things is happiness, and this really is not at all.
And
And
also for the image. And
mm,
for the image. He
what
was
was the
very
image that
popular.
for you?
He was very popular. So I've always kind of been like laid back. I was popular like in high school, but high school.
Right.
So when I was with him, I could be out in the streets and they'd be like, "Oh, you such and such girl."
Mm-hmm.
Don't know him from a can of paint, but because he knew everybody,
Mm-hmm.
I became like, "Oh, okay, I know who you are."
That's such and such girl.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And then and sometimes I would even get like people that would look out for me, like, "Oh, well, you such and such girl, you ain't got to get in the line, come on," or hookups and you need a drink. Oh, you ain't got to buy no drink. You got to spend your money. I got it.
Right.
You
Ego
such and such
booster.
girl. You such and such
Yeah.
people. So
Yeah. It
yeah,
boosts your ego. It's like
exactly.
a
I
power
was in
trip.
ego.
Mm, yeah.
I was in ego.
So I hear you saying that infidelity is what was the main issue in the second marriage. What was the final straw with that?
Oh, the final straw in the second marriage. I'll say he had done any and everything that you can think of
Mm-hmm.
that a man could do to a woman, from breaking bones, from cheating, from stealing my money. I mean, if you can think of it, it was done. The final straw was when he touched or messed with something that um, I would say is unforgivable. There are certain things are unforgivable, that
Mm-hmm.
are worse than just infidelity.
Right.
So that piece of my life is also not just my story, and
Right.
that's not a part of my story that I would tell, because it's not my
It's
story
not
to tell.
yours. Yeah. Yeah. I
But it
understand.
was something that I'm still dealing with, and the people that were affected are still dealing with until this day.
Yeah.
Um, and as you can see, my tone changed because I'm angry about it. Um, because I wouldn't say I'm fighting it, because I thought that I had forgiven myself for it,
Mhm.
for the situation. But um, when things are being brought back to the surface, sometimes you have to readjust.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you have to reevaluate the situation, especially because when you get older, you look at things from a different perspective.
Yeah.
And so I have to forgive myself, and I did. First, that's the first thing I had to do, was forgive me for any and all of it, before forgiving anyone else. And
Ab-
now I feel like the situation will be better later, because
Absolutely.
karma is my best friend sometimes.
We talk about karma a lot, but I like to say that vengeance is the Lord's,
It
which
is.
is similar in its name.
Exactly.
Very similar, but giving it to God and allowing God to take control the way that He sees to take control of the situation. And when we let go of things, it allows us to be able to walk in peace. It allows
Hmm.
us to walk in joy, because the joy that we have, the world didn't give it, and the world can't take it away. And so when you walk with your head up high, remembering that we all have an assignment here on this earth. And
Hmm.
so when we tell our stories, when we are able to be transparent, we're helping someone else to heal. We're helping someone else to be able to start over and to be able to extend grace to themselves the same way you got to extend grace to yourself. And so I think about your initiative, the Second Chances initiative, how
Hmm.
easy it is to say, you know what, everybody deserves a second chance when re-entering into society. This is what my call is, but remembering I deserve a second chance the same
Hmm.
way. It doesn't matter what happened with the first chance, how
Hmm.
I may have made the mistake, what areas of flaws I may have. I can look in the mirror and say, you know what? I forgive you because I
Yes.
know you did the best that you could with what you had.
Well, what you had, absolutely. And that is a part of that situation, is a part of what birthed a second chance solutions.
Mhm,
The situation, which why I went to in prison and was incarcerated,
mhm,
had a lot to do with him.
mm,
Um, I went to go fight a girl,
mhm.
and that he was cheating on me with, and she knew me, so it was kind of like, how dare you? But she didn't owe me nothing. It
Right.
was him that did. And so, the situation went left. I ended up doing something which caused me to be incarcerated and away from my children.
Mhm.
So I birthed a second chance solutions to show women that just because you have trauma, and just because you went through some things in the past, or a man may have hurt you, or you didn't know your own self-worth, doesn't mean you can't wake up tomorrow, change the way you think, and
Right.
be better, and be an asset to your community and to society.
Right.
So that is my vision at this moment.
It's more than just a vision. You are walking in it. You are already
Thank
walking
you,
in
sis.
it. Deanna was one of our guests with the Oak Foundation for the Reentry Conference, and she had her first speaking engagement. And I believe that is just the beginning. Being able to get out there and be your authentic self is what's going to draw others to you, knowing that you have this call to that population, and just continue to write the vision, because the vision will come to pass, but you've already started it. It's no
Right.
longer just a dream. It's no longer a desire. It's already been manifesting. You just got to keep pushing,
Yes, ma'am.
keep going. But it's already there. And so you talk about second chances initiative. Um, going into prison, were you still married and were you still with him when you went to prison?
I actually married him 4 days before my sentencing date. So
And it had already
because
happened.
yeah, the situation happened. Well, I left him alone. People like, well, how could you even go back to him after that? Like, but you think love is love. That's why when you said what was the breaking point, it
Yeah.
wasn't anything that he did to me at all. So,
So without that issue, you might have still been with him today.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, maybe not. Only God knows that.
Right.
But, I don't know. I think that because I we were together for that a certain amount of time. When I went to sentencing, we weren't intending for me to be sentenced that day.
Mm-hmm.
The Commonwealth attorney's main witness had changed her story from the preliminary hearing to the
Mm-hmm.
trial. So my lawyer was trying to use that, and he was, the judge was like, nah, you ain't having that. She getting sentenced today.
Right.
So it was January the 4th, and then my sentencing date was January the 8th.
Mm.
So they sentenced me that day. They took me right in the back. I didn't get to say goodbye to my children, my mother, nobody.
Wow.
I went, and then I started my bid from that point on, from January 8th of 2012.
Wow. Why do you think it was so imperative that you two got married prior to sentencing?
I'm not sure if I felt that it was imperative. We were supposed to get married before, a couple of weeks before that,
Mm-hmm.
and I backed out.
Okay.
And then I don't even remember what made me just be like, okay, because it was like last minute. We just went to the justice of the peace real quick, and I don't know. I think it was maybe wanting to trying to secure that
Mm.
he was mine, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it was also kind of like a game with the other girls.
I got him. He
I
mine.
won, yeah, yeah. Which I should have just been like, here, girl, here. How they put me in the inbox here. This belongs to you. That's what I should have did, but I didn't.
Listen, you are not alone. Like I talk about that in my first chapter, Life After Divorce, Turning Pain into Power. How I ignore those red flags the same way. Where we so crazy. We made that phone call. Like I heard you calling my man. Blah 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 blah. They smart. They walk away. We stay because yeah, I won. Oh, he chose
Mm-hmm.
me. Nah,
Mm-hmm.
neither one of us won. We
Okay.
just walked away.
Exactly.
We can look back to those days and say, I was crazy then. I'm so much smarter now.
Mm-hmm.
What was your learning experience from all of this? Like, how would you say, you know what, I learned point A, point B, point C? What's your biggest lesson in all of this?
My biggest lesson was to love me first.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless of, I had this burning pain and irritability and just bitterness from my father not being in my life.
Right, right.
And then I had to realize that maybe, just maybe, it would have been worse if he was.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't change the past. I can't change anything that I've done.
Right,
Um, so, and I don't feel like nothing is coincidence. Everything in every situation happens for a reason.
right.
Um,
Absolutely.
so I had to find closure in that and love me, love on me, you know, flaws and all, felony and all, and just move forward.
Yeah, yeah. Where did that lead you to now? Like you you separate, you divorce, now your second husband, but do you give up on love?
No,
Nope.
I didn't give up on love because I knew that, and I know that I am worthy of true love and of unconditional love. The difference, I think, now
Mhm.
is that I didn't go looking for it.
Mm,
I won't expecting it. It was
one of those, it happened.
it was out of the blue. Where'd you come from? You're not even my type, So I
And
was
you
like,
it's
he
like that.
light skinned, like, because I was okay. He got to be dark.
Uh-huh.
I had these images in my head of what I thought a person would the person I wanted to spend the rest of my life was supposed to be like.
Right.
And my current husband is nothing like what I thought. It's better.
Okay, so
He's better.
you got remarried.
I got remarried in August of last year, August 13th of 2023. No, I'm sorry, 2022. And we've been together for 5 years. It'll be 6 next month on the 29th. The difference in, like I said, this marriage and any other one is, one, I didn't go looking for. I didn't look for him. I didn't, we were Facebook friends for a long time, like, and then he was a client, and it was like, I definitely ain't doing that. And then, his
I
approach
know
was
that he
different.
set it up to be a client just to meet you.
I think it probably was, because he had jumped in my inbox a couple of times, and I was just like, boy, bye. Because I had looked at his profile, and it was like, I thought, he wasn't gonna be no good for me. It was kind of like I prejudged him before getting to know him. And then I did some work for him, and then he jumped in my inbox again and was just like, you're so beautiful, and I like the vibe, and like, let's go out when I get back in town. I'm like,
so don't be
okay.
jumping the DMs, is what you're saying.
Don't ignore everybody in the DMs, is what I'm saying. Like, if some women had this whole perception of, girl, he in my DMs, he thirsty.
Yes.
No, he might live on the other side of the water, and that's the only way he gonna get to be able to contact you or something.
Right.
Don't be so negative
world.
about
That's
it.
the truth. Yeah.
You don't know what he wants. So if I had a not taken the time to respond to the DM, even though it was pertaining to business, if I had just brushed it off or didn't respond, and then even after the business, I didn't have to go on a date with him.
Right.
But I liked his approach. I liked his vibe, and we went on our first date, and I was like, oh, he different. He opening doors and pulling back chairs, and wait a minute. So he showed me a different man.
So he helped soften you out, would you say that?
He did, and he taught me a lot in the beginning. He also had the opportunity very early on, where it wasn't even a label. We were just conversating and getting to know each other.
Right.
Whereas I had a situation happen, and he could have walked away, and he didn't. He didn't walk away. He even like got in contact with my mother. Like,
oh, he was serious.
Yeah. And so that spoke a little volumes to me,
Right.
because
Right.
he didn't have to
Describe
take
this
the time.
character to me in regards to what it was about him to say, this is the one, this is the man I want to spend the rest of my life with.
He was genuine. He's genuine. He's smart. He's caring. And he didn't judge me. And that's what stuck out to me the most. And he also likes me for my size. Like, most of my life, a lot of guys were like, you small, this and the third. When I was bigger, when I came home from prison, I was like super thick. And he was like, oh no, I wouldn't even try to talk to you then. And hell no, you was too big. So he loved me for me, and genuinely for me. And that's what made me be like, okay. He invested in teaching me things, things that I didn't know growing up or in my early 20s or didn't learn. For instance, credit. Okay, I'm gonna put you on. This is what you're gonna do to fix your credit. Him helping me fix my credit ain't doing nothing for him. Well, now it is. Now it is. But he was building me. Like, I'm a build you up.
I love
it was the build up.
Yes, I love it. All right, that's what I'm talking about. So he actually knew what he wanted coming into the game. He knew what he wanted, which is really good when a man is confident about what he wants, and it helps you to feel secure. It helps you to feel wanted. It helps you to feel desired. It helps you to feel loved. And those are the things that women are looking for when it comes to marriage. And so You were married twice, and it took that third time. I'm so glad you did not give up on love. What advice would you give to the person who is kind of like giving up on love? It says they don't want to.
I would say, first forgive yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's your fault or their fault. Still forgive yourself for even being in the situation.
Yeah.
Then forgive them. I mean, and then like I said earlier, everything and every situation happens for a reason. Find some closure in it and find your purpose in your pain and help someone else
Right.
so they can get through it.
I like it. I like that. How would you say you turned your pain into your power?
Um, by forgiving myself, by changing my ways of thinking, and by giving a chance. Because if I didn't give the chance to be loved again, then I wouldn't be able to speak and say, tell my story now.
Right.
Um, I turned my pain into purpose because I wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to sit in the pain, and I don't think that a lot of people may not understand that.
Mm-hmm.
Some people sit in the pain versus saying, "Okay, I can't do this.
Yeah.
I got to do something to make me feel better about the situation."
I like that.
And
Let me
so,
type that in the chat because that's
helping somebody else,
good. Don't sit in the pain.
don't sit in the pain.
And it really does require movement. I always say that healing is a marathon. It's not a sprint. And a lot of times we rush to be healed, feeling like,
Hmm.
you know what, I can't move to the next relationship until I'm completely healed. And it's not saying that you got to be completely healed to move to the next relationship. What it's saying is that one, you need to acknowledge where you went wrong, what mistakes
Hmm.
you made. There should be a learning lesson in everything that we do, because we don't take L's, we take lessons. You know what I'm
And
saying?
what you said did speak volumes, because that is another thing that um, my current husband, what attracted me to him, or what made me know that he was the one. He was willing to help me unpack my baggage. He knew that I still had some work to do. He knew that I was still hurting in certain areas and certain aspects. And it wasn't a turn off for him. It was more so, let me love you past that. Let
Yep.
me love you past your pain. And once he started helping me unpack is when I knew he was heaven sent. This is God sent. This is ordained right here, because I
Absolutely.
had never had that before.
I believe it has to be the desire to want to be healed. Like you said, don't sit in the pain. If you have a person that has a desire to be healed versus a person that wants to stay in the victim mentality,
Hmm.
that's the difference. Not that you got to come to me completely whole. You got to come to me completely healed.
Right.
Because the truth is, who's really completely healed?
Hmm.
Like, we all have some mess. We all have some
We all do.
horrible things that we need to heal from trauma, from our childhood, from our past. We should be constantly working on it, and not bringing the baggage into new relationships, but being able to be honest with your significant other, being
Yes.
able to say, this is where I'm at in my healing journey. I need you to support me, not talking down to me, help build me up. So as I'm built up, we can rise together. But I really would hope people get out of the mentality that, oh, don't come to me unless you're completely healed. Because I promise you,
Mm-mm.
they're dealing with issues themselves. You know, who's not dealing with some type of issue in their life?
That is absolutely right.
But
We all got baggage.
it's the willingness and the desire to want to heal, to want to transform, to want to change, that makes the biggest difference for me.
Right. Absolutely.
If you're teachable, that's the biggest difference to me. Like, for real. So I thank you so much, Deana. This was so awesome. Like,
Yes, ma'am. I
look,
appreciate the
that's like
opportunity.
really ringing in my head. Don't sit in the pain, for real. I love it. Tell us a little bit about the book that you've been writing, that you are ready to publish, because I want the people to be on the lookout for this.
The book, it was coming soon. I got a little teeny bit of finishing touches to do before I turn it over to you. I'm just gonna put that out there, turn it over to Miss
Deanna's
Dana.
book coach over here.
Okay. And I'm excited for people to be able to see the story in full, from
Mm-hmm.
beginning to end, to really really get to know or understand this fire over here.
Ooh,
You know,
you're a fire.
you read the book, you will understand why I am the way I am.
This
And
her
I'm going
ain't
down,
red for nothing.
this
So
this this this
firecracker.
Aries over here. So I'm excited about it. I don't want to say too much because I know that I'll start telling what's in the book,
What's the
and
title
I
of the
don't
book
want to do
again?
that. The title of the book is called Seasons.
Seasons.
Yes,
Yes,
Seasons.
I love it. No,
And it is about me elaborating on the seasons of my life.
I
We
love
all
it.
have them.
Yeah, I'll be on
So
the watch out for this book that's going to come.
it will be done before the end of summer. Um,
Absolutely.
before the
Because
end of
we
summer.
are turning pain into power. So thank you all for joining us on tonight. For those who might watch the replay, leave comments, leave your biggest tidbit that you might have gotten from this live. Thank you all to the viewers who did chime on to the live right now. Those who came on
Hey,
previously,
hey.
check out the book Life After Divorce: Turning Pain into Power. You can find it on Amazon, or you can inbox me. You can probably what you say, DM me.
Yes, DMs.
Well, you can DM real. But you know what? I've been speaking to some powerhouses, people who are transforming their life. They're saying this is not the end of my chapter when it comes to life after divorce. Some of us were just beginning. Some of us, we got some new things up our sleeve. And as you heard Deanna say, she got a book coming. But remember, don't sit in the pain. Y'all have a
That's
good
right.
night, and we will see you next time.
Peace.